We're heading into the heart of the winter months, really the coldest part of the winter. And I think at the Kiosk Presents, it's a really good opportunity for us to draw some attention to a really significant need in Western New York. And that has to do not just with the homeless, but homeless youth. I think there's a lot of people don't realize what a situation we have in Western New York with homeless youth. And here with me today to address how we reach out to them, what we do when we're able to find them, are two folks that are very involved with that situation. I have Nadia Pizarro, who is the Enhanced Outreach Worker for the American Red Cross, as well as Carol Halter, who's Director of the Plymouth Crossroads Home. So I'd like to start with Nadia. Hi, Nadia. How are you today?
Great.
Good. So I understand in your role as the Enhanced Outreach worker for the American Red Cross, you really are out there looking for the homeless youth. How many are there, and how do you find them?
Well, right now, overall, there's about 8,000 homeless overall in Erie County. 1,400 of them are youth, ages 0 to 17 years old. I'm actually an outreach worker for the Red Cross's HIV Services Department, so we're looking for women and girls at high risk. But because I have those outreach skills, I became the Code Blue outreach worker for the Western New York Coalition for the Homeless, and that's when I started doing the outreach for homeless and homeless youth. And it's a really humbling and eye-opening experience.
I'm sure of that.
To be under train tunnels, to be under bridges, to be outside of public buildings and seeing people sleeping on heating vents in the wintertime, just trying to stay warm in abandoned houses. It's a very humbling experience for me. Being out there on the streets, I didn't realize what a huge problem there is with homelessness in Erie County, let alone with homeless youth. And I have a 13-year-old myself. I can't imagine him being out there, especially in the winter.
And when you see the homeless youth or someone out there, I mean, how do you, obviously you're well-trained, how do you approach them in a way that's going to hopefully successfully bring them in so that they can be cared for?
Well, I go out with the Code Blue van during when Code Blue is called. Code Blue is something through the Western New York Coalition for the Homeless that we implemented. If the weather is below 10 degrees, you could actually freeze to death outside. So we started Code Blue on those nights when it's called throughout the city, throughout the county. That means that the shelters are open to anyone, regardless of whatever issues they may have had in the past, whether they normally would be allowed there. And so the homeless population know pretty much about us. So when I come out there, it's like, hey, I'm Nadia, I'm with Code Blue. The van's outside. Do you want to come to the mission? Do you want to get a meal? And then once they're there, when I'm in the van with them, I'm talking to them, finding out a little bit about them. Hey, are you just out here for one night, or do you live out here? Where do you live? When's the last time you ate? And then once they get to the city mission, that's when the trained professionals are working with them, finding out the particulars of their situation during intakes and telling them about the different shelters available to them, like Carol's over at Plymouth Crossroads.
Yeah. Now, obviously there's an expense involved with doing everything that you do, but the reality is what you do saves the so much money when it comes to other ways that homeless people would ultimately be in situations. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. Carol was the one who opened my eyes to the fact that, it cost about $14,000 to house a homeless youth in one of the 5 shelters, Plymouth Crossroads, Compass House, Try, the Franciscan Center, and Home Space. $14,000 for a year for one homeless youth versus if they're out on the streets for up to 3 days, there is a huge chance that they're going to commit some criminal act and they're going to end up in the juvenile detention system, which costs $100,000 a year to house them, and they don't receive the services that Carol will talk to you about.
Carol Halter, who's Director of Plymouth Crossroads Home. Carol, maybe could you expand on that just a little bit more about how it really makes sense to make the investment as soon as you can with the youth, as opposed to situations where they would get involved with some criminal activity, because they're really not always criminal people, are they?
No, they're not. These are kids who are on the streets through often, most often, no fault of their own. And they come to us from our angels who bring them to us from off the streets. Sometimes they're on the streets because they've been abused at home, because they're running away from drug or alcohol problems in the home, from abuse in the home. Sometimes we've got a lot of problems with families losing their income. Their families can no longer afford to keep them, so they say, you know what, you've got to go out, you've got to be on your own. These kids are young, they're 15, 16, 17 years old, and now all of a sudden they're trying to make it on their own, and they wind up on the streets. They're very sad stories. So our angels, they bring them to us, and they say, we've got someone here that just needs that help to finish their education, because we know without an education, they won't be able to get a job. They need to get an education, they need to get a job, and then they'll be able to be the kind of people that they want to be in life, you know, just like our kids. I mean, I have 2 children who are wonderful, and I want so much for them. We are that social safety net for them. So that's what we provide them in our shelters and our homes.
And a great example of that kind of shelter is the Plymouth Crossroads home, correct? And
Yeah.
now that's an actual location here in Erie County?
It's an actual home. We have 8 beds. It's 2 to a bedroom, so it's just like it is a home. It's a residence. It's in Lancaster, and our house is for boys. We have shelters, though, transitional shelters throughout Erie County for young people, for boys and for girls. And what they do is they give us a call and they say, I have no place to live. I need a home. And they come to us and they have a place to eat and they have a place to sleep at no cost to them. And we help them. They can live with us for up to 18 months.
Very nice.
Until they can move on to the next place in their life.
And you say that they give a call. Maybe what we should do right now is what is that number? And can they use Facebook? Is there other ways that they can find you?
We have a Facebook page, Plymouth Crossroads, where they can come and they can look at the house, they can read about our program, they can get all of the information that they need, they can talk to us on Facebook. They can also give us a call at 393-3906, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have intake workers, we have case managers, we have youth counselors that are there to help them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They can also call Compass House 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have people who will come and pick them up wherever they are, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and bring them in out of the cold.
One of the main things we needed to talk about is how do we reach out to these young people? What can we do to serve them? But on top of that, you know, these days, you know, there's financial cutbacks all over the place, and there's a big need just for financial support to keep some of these homes going. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a huge need for financial support. And, you know, New York State is cutting back. All of our shelters, our youth shelters, have gotten huge financial cuts. And we're stressed. You know, we take donations. We take donations of food. We take donations of clothing. We take donations of money, all of us, in order to support the kids that come to us that need that help and need that support. Big, small, $1 here, $10 there.
Anything helps, sure.
Anything helps, and it's very important to our kids.
Right, and if you're interested out there in Western New York and you want to make a contribution of any kind, is it the same way to reach you, Facebook and the phone number?
Same numbers. Give us a call. Tell us you want to help us support these kids, because let me tell you, your dollars up front help so much. And these kids are so thankful. Everything that comes to the house, they meet you at the door and they say thank you so much for everything that you do to support us. And, you know, they sit around the table every night and they have dinner together, and they, you know, oftentimes our kids come to us with just the clothing on their backs. and you hand them a shirt or a coat, and they are so grateful for just every little thing that we can offer them.
Well, that's really amazing, and I really appreciate that here at the Kiosk Presents we've had an opportunity to find out more about what you do. I know it's not often enough that you personally get thanked, both of you, for what you do, and we really can see that. But Western New York, you could be the one we could thank the most by just calling 393-3906, going to Facebook, looking up the Plymouth Crossroads home, lending your support, and being aware of something that some fabulous people are doing here in Western New York. So thank you, Nadia, and thank you,
Thank
Carol,
you.
and we'll be right back.